don't even bother.
Okay, well, today we have Lindsey Cox.
It's me.
What are all of your letters?
I'm an LCSW,
And what does that mean?
licensed clinical social worker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us what that means. What do you do?
So I own a private practice in Meridian. We work with kids and families and work on parenting and try to bridge the gap between parents and child. It's been great. Work with a lot of families in the Valley and try to help them connect with their kids.
Well, and I like your model because you don't just see the kid.
For sure.
You see the whole family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't feel like a lot of people do that.
Correct. Yeah. And that's why I started my company, was because I had previous experience working with individual clients and it just doesn't make sense. Right. And so if you're with a kid for an hour, I almost like, if you see a kid for a specific trauma, then I feel like it's okay that you're seeing them only. Right.
Sure.
Because you're working on one individual thing. But if you're working on behaviors, if you're working on anxiety overall, things that need to overlap into school or the home life, right? Then if you're only working for an hour with that kid and nothing is happening at home, then nothing will change. And so I found that it was really important to bring the family in. And I do say kid, but it is a family model. And so we do have people, older adults, who call and say, like, I have issues with my siblings, like my older adult siblings, right? So we work with everybody in the family model. We just primarily do focus on kids, but I do have one therapist who works for me who does not actually see kids, and she only works with adults.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's been great. And I try to tell people, I mean, counseling's not like a forever thing. Like, let's get you in and get you feeling better and get you out. And then if you need to kind of come back in for a tune-up, we can do that. But in the meantime, it's like, just come in, and I don't want you to think about me throughout the week, but I am very big on like homework and things, right? And so I'm like, what is going to trigger you to remember that you're in counseling? Because again, if you're only with me for 1 hour a week and your brain is not with me or the process, right? For the whole week, then you're not going to change anything, right? You can process through your week and sure, that's fine, but like, you're not going to actively make changes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How long have you been doing this? Like in general?
In general, I started in 2013 is when I graduated with my first master's. So I have 2 master's degrees. I've ran a homeless shelter. I've worked in drug rehab. I've worked with kids and families. I've kind of done all the things.
What was the moment that you realized you needed to focus a little more on like the kids and then making it the family model?
Yeah.
So if you kind of worked with everybody and then you realized that there was to hone in, I guess. Yeah.
I always knew growing up, like I nannied, I'd always worked with kids, and I always knew I wanted to work with kids, but I didn't know how. My specialty is actually the parents. And so I will work with the parents, and not just, I see your kid and then, I talk to you for a couple minutes. Like, I actually tell the parents, like, you need sessions also, like, because we need to make some changes in your home. And so that is kind of what I prefer and love, but I will see the kids because it's kind of more fun in a different way, But yeah, so I think just not knowing how to work with kids in what capacity. And then I just kind of moved into that as I kind of grew throughout. When I ran a homeless shelter, I worked mainly with adults, and I knew that was not what I wanted to do. I did love rehab and like drug rehab and stuff, but I found myself gravitating towards the young adults who had been using since they were 13 or 14. So they were basically a child.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of how that
So getting
started.
to the root of it by going to the family kind of seems okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Because generational trauma is a real thing.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, generational trauma notwithstanding, like babies, little kids are kind of like puppies. Like, they don't come, quote unquote, broken.
Totally.
Like,
Absolutely.
it's the environment.
Absolutely.
It's the dog owner, or it's the parents.
For sure.
That are instilling the anxiety or the whatever.
Yeah.
And so.
And I do work with a lot of kids who have like autism or high anxiety. And I think a lot of people are just really uneducated on it. And, as a parent, you don't know what you don't know. You all of a sudden you're pregnant, even if you wanted to be, right? And then you're like, I have this kid, and it's like, I have these behaviors, and it's like, okay, but why do you have these behaviors? Is there an autism component there? And if there's not, then it's probably your parenting style. And you can parent one kid. I mean, look at your kids. You've got 2 kids. And if you parented both the same, you would not be doing well.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize how different two people can be, even
For
though
sure.
I have siblings,
Right.
but like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's the same home environment for both of them, right?
Yeah.
But you cannot treat them the same.
No.
And so I think, and I do work with a couple families who are grandparents, have the custody of the kids. And they're struggling because they're like, well, not that they were perfect parents, but they're like, my kids came out okay. And like, or like, I was a good parent. And I'm like, we're in a whole different world.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, even from 5-10 years ago, if you had kids in 10 years apart, right? Like if you had a kid as a young adult and then 15 years later, you're having another kid, like I would not parent the same. Because the world is so different.
Totally different circumstances.
Absolutely.
Well, and then I think a lot of us, like I had very strong ideas of how I was going to parent, and then actually becoming a mom brought up things that I didn't even know were
Bothered
problems
you.
for me. And so
Absolutely.
having to work through those.
For sure. And even if you come from a good home life, right? Like, again, you don't know what you don't know. And so we all could benefit from education. I have a ton of education behind me, but I still have to go to do continuing ed and things like that because there's things changing and I don't know it all. So, and I tell my clients all the time, like, I still go home and I mess up my own children. Like, I do the best I can, right? But nobody is perfect.
Sure.
We're looking at, are you making the best effort you can, and how can we make changes and be willing to grow every day? Not necessarily, are you going to go home and be perfect?
Right. And so going back to the counseling isn't a forever thing.
Right.
Like, I think that's really important that people know that, because I do think that people see people languishing in therapy and not really making any improvement. And especially for kids, I think it's important that they don't just sit there forever.
For sure. And especially with kids, like kids, everybody, but kids especially will become resentful if they have this appointment every week that they're like, oh, I have to go again. I have to go again. Why am I broken? Like, what's wrong with me? Right. That's not the goal. The goal is it's just an extra class you're doing to give you some tools, and then let's get you out. Right. Like, and if things aren't changing at home, you're not making progress, like maybe I'm not the right therapist for you, or maybe you need something in addition to, like, let's figure it out together.
Do you find that it is more often than not when there's a child with issues? I don't want to say a problem kid because that's not fair.
Yeah.
So a kid with issues, do you find that it's pretty common that the parents have absolutely no idea why, and that's where the real deep dive goes in on the parent? Because I feel, just even in talking to people in my everyday life, I don't have kids, but sometimes it's, my kid does this and I have no idea why, and everything at home is perfect, right? It's always that just they're living in oblivion of everything is fine. So when you really have to get to that root of why is your teen using drugs, but they've been using since they were young, where is this all stemming from? Because yes, you can have the external factors, but when so much can come from the home, I just would think, are there so many people that are just oblivious to it? Parents.
A lot. And some of that is the whole generational trauma thing. Like, they don't realize what they're doing is not the best for their child. In their mind, they're like, I'm doing better than my parents were doing, right? And so they're a step above. Or other times it's like they're just tired, right? We are in a weird generation now where, like, more moms are working and more people aren't at home, and or they're being taught by screens, right? Screens is a huge thing I talk to with families all the time. And so I think sometimes they just don't know. And I'll never shame you for not knowing, right? It's the parents that are like, nope, we're good. My kid is, my kid's the problem. And it's like, unless your kid has autism, and even then, right? Unless your kid has some extreme thing that maybe there's a bigger issue happening, it's more than likely a parenting thing. And even with autism, it's still probably a parenting thing. Sure, they're going to have some extra challenges, right? But how do we work with those challenges? So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense. Talk more about screens.
I think screens are doing a lot of the babysitting for us, unfortunately. And that is something that I talk to my families that I work with all the time. Like, how many hours a day are you letting your kids be on screens? And it's kind of like, so when I worked in drug abuse, right? It was like, when I would do the intake, it'd be like, how much meth would you do every day, or how much whatever. And when I was trained, it was always like, you should probably multiply it, right? Because they're always going to minimize. And it's the same with screens, right? Because even if the parents aren't lying on purpose, they probably just aren't paying attention because they're busy, right? Like, I'm not faulting the parent. And when I say take the screen away, I'm not saying take it away and then have your kid sit in the corner. Like, it's going to take extra work from you to then implement, okay, we're going to do this craft, or we're going to do this thing, or I'm going to, you know, be creative with you. And if you start, it's harder at first to pull the screen because that's where their brain is so used to, and screens give us so much instant satisfaction, right? But when you initially pull that screen away from the kid, like, you have to have something for them to engage with. And then after that, like, once they've kind of regulated off of it, you can have them play by themselves and you can have them do things by themselves, right? And I don't mean ignore them, right? But like, spend 10 minutes engaging with them, helping them come up with some ideas, right? And then let them play by themselves. You'll be amazed at what the creative things they can do without it. But kids are just exposed to way too much right now, and it's a problem. So,
Do you think kids are less bored today because of all the screen options?
I think they're different bored.
Okay.
I think screens are changing our brain chemistry.
Yeah.
I actually went to a training where there was a neurologist, I think, and he was talking about how kids are on TikTok, like teenagers, right? And they're scrolling on TikTok, right? And he called it the talk ticks, and it's actually causing kids to tick because they're so used to the reels, like,
oh my gosh.
yeah. And so they're like, I can't, like, not do it, right? And then they think about it and they have to be on it all the time, and it's becoming so, like, such a problem, right? And so, or like, if you watch YouTube, I tell parents all the time, like, YouTube is not good. Even YouTube Kids is not good. But especially like the YouTube Reels, those short snippets, they're so bad for our brain because you're like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. So then in everyday life, they're constantly like, I'll just do something else, right? They can't be bored. It's a difference before, like, back when we were younger and it was like, I'm bored. It's like, I've probably exhausted most things, right? Versus now where it's like, I'm bored because my brain is so used to being on high alert all the time that I literally can't just sit and chill.
And just slow down because it's a rapid fire thing.
Correct.
We see that though, even as adults, how all of our collective attention span has just diminished so drastically because of the fact that it's just so, it's easy. You become programmed to 10 seconds in, I'm over it, and you just move past it.
Right.
But yeah, I guess there's really nothing to do if you're obsessed. And this generation has grown up on the screens.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Where we grew up and we could play and do other
sure.
things and board games, and it was fun for us.
Yeah.
Now that's, it's almost a drag for kids to have to take away their screen.
And I will tell, like, families, like, play a board game, and the kids are like, it's boring. And it's because it is to them. And it's because their brain has been so calculated into this is what is only fun, right? And so it's going to take rewiring. It's going to take changing and making effort and doing these things, but we are creating a problem.
But it's able to be reversed.
Yeah, for sure. Now I don't know the exact number, right? But like, if you wait too long, it's going to be a whole lot harder, right? But we need connection as people, right? And we're not connecting with the screen. And like, I mean, like, I go home and I take a bath every night. Like, that's my downtime, right? But like, I've tried really hard lately, especially, like, I will stop and scroll, and I'll just like scroll while I take a bath. And I'm like, this doesn't make me feel better. Like, I'm not actually relaxing, right? Everyone's like, I just need to go doom scroll for a while. And I'm like, do you though? Like, I get it. I'm not faulting you because I do the same thing, but like, do you actually feel better when you're done?
Right.
Or do you still feel crappy and now you're just like a blob? Right. And so we're hurting ourselves.
Well, and what things do parents need to be super aware of as far as like on the internet?
Well, I mean, just in general, like talking to strangers and stuff like that. And I think, like, I was the generation, I think you're probably a few years older than I am, but we're still pretty close.
Yeah.
Where it was like half no screen and half screen.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, my parents are great parents, right? But I also was given a computer in my room at like 6th or 7th grade that had access to the internet.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I still had to go in the computer room.
Yeah. And so I think, like, I mean, obviously they were too trusting, but I was a good, quote unquote, good kid. Right. And I think I had the fear of God in my, like my parents. I knew my dad would be like,
I've met your mom. She could put the fear of God in people.
Yeah. And so, but now it's just like anybody can go on the internet and say they're 14, right? Anybody can use a picture and say, like, even on like Roblox and all the things they're doing to supposedly make it better, where you're only talking to someone your age, those things can be, there's a workaround.
Yeah. I
Right?
feel like Roblox is just like a predator breeding ground.
100%. There's really no benefit to it at all. There's just, I think parents are afraid to take it away.
Yeah.
Right. And once they've given it to them, they're like, well, I don't want my kid to hate me if I take it away, because they're like, now I've not really screwed up, but I've quote unquote screwed up. Right. And so now it's like, how do I take this away? They're going to hate me. And I'm like, sure, they're going to hate you for a minute. Right. And if you take it away and then don't engage and again, put them in the corner,
Yeah.
they're going to hate you.
But
Right.
their attention span's so short, they'll
Right.
forget.
But if you take it away and connect with them, like that is the root of what kids need. Right? Whether or not they realize they want it or not yet, like that's what they need. We need connection as people. Be more concerned about your kid hating you at 16 than your kid hating you at 7.
Yeah.
Right? Like fix it now so that when they are 16 and 17, they can thrive and they can do things and they can have connections and relationships with people. I mean, even looking at dating apps, right? Like I have a couple of clients that I've seen in the past who are like, oh, dating is so terrible. It's the same scroll, scroll left or right if you want the person. And it's just like become such an instant, satisfaction thing of like, oh, ugly, cute, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
And it's just, are we actually even looking at the person? No.
Yeah.
No. And the difference with you having a computer in your room at 6th and 7th grade,
Right.
even though you had the fear of God in you, it's way more we're aware of how predatory
Totally.
the internet is now.
Right.
Because even sadly with AI, as amazing as it is, you can put as many parental controls as you want, I think,
yeah.
on a phone, and a kid in 2 minutes
sure.
can probably debunk and figure
Yeah.
out the workaround even
Yeah.
for that.
Absolutely.
So that's terrifying
Yeah.
that kids are just exposed to everything
Yeah. Yeah.
at
And
their
I have
fingertips, so accessible.
parents who will say like, well, we have the bark phone or we have the internet that turns off or, whatever. And it's just like, yeah, those are great tools, right? But then if you still allow them to take their phone into their bedroom, like, can they connect to the neighbor's Wi-Fi or can they go on a workaround, right? Like I've had kids get on like porn websites through ABC Mouse
What?
because they've been able to click out of like go into ABC Mouse, click on to like take me to the website, and then it takes them to Safari, and then they figured out a workaround, right?
Oh my
Versus like
gosh.
they're not going onto an app or they're not going directly into Safari, right? But it's like when you go on Instagram and you see an ad and you
Yeah.
click on the ad, it takes you into Safari, but you're not in Safari.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, it's freaking scary. Like, there's no reason kids should have access to all of these things until their frontal lobe is developed.
Which is at like 25.
Correct. And so, I mean, I'm not that extreme, but like, there's some level of like, you shouldn't not give a kid a phone until they're 18 and then be like, hey, go into the world. Right. Because
yeah.
they have to know how to, manage it and things like that. Right. And so, like, there's a process, but like, don't give them free reign at 9.
Yeah. So how do we teach our kids how to utilize technology as a tool, but be a good steward of it?
Well, I mean, I think it's really important to say like, okay, all of your screen time will be in the living room with the family, right? We're not going to do things that allow you to talk to strangers, right? Because there's no benefit, right, at all. And then, I mean, even as silly as like, there's a game in Roblox, I don't know the name of it, but there's a specific game where there's lots of games, but that you can take a shower. Okay. You're a robot. So like, you're not really naked, but you're naked. Right. And I've had kids tell me like, well, yeah, I was talking to this person. They told me they were like 14 and they're just like, oh, I'm just going to hang out in here while you take your shower. And I'm like, at what point is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's in a game, but like this translates into their brain as like like, it's okay if they just hang out with me while I shower.
It normalizes it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes like, okay, as I get older, like, oh, if I go do a sleepover, which is a whole nother,
Oh, yeah.
but
I'm
if I
anti-sleepover.
right. So like if you go have a sleepover and then someone's brother has been really nice to you and they're like, I'll just hang out in here while you shower and I'll whatever. Just chat. And
Yeah.
it's just like, no, like these things carry over into real life without realizing it. And so, yeah, having it like be in the living room, no phones in your bedroom, right? If you want a phone in your bedroom, there's a new phone. It's like tin can or something. I can't.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, you want to go talk, like only talk. Sure, we'll put one of those in your bedroom and you can talk with your friends. Like, I'm not trying to take away privacy, right? But I'm trying to keep you safe. And
Yeah.
so, and we have a rule in our house, like if you have friends over, you can't close your door,
Yep.
right? And my daughter's 5, and so she was like, okay, that's totally fine. And then I found her and her friend in her closet with the door shut. I was like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, well, my door's open, and her bedroom door was open. And I was like, so we have to be really clear with expectations here. Like, and she's 5, so she's not doing it to be malicious, but it's just, we have to teach our kids, like, what is normal? What is not normal? What are we going to allow? And if you don't start these things when they're younger, it's really hard to implement when they're 13, 14, and now all their friends have access to things.
Yeah, we're running into that now, that apparently, allegedly, 4 out of 27 kids in my 5th graders class don't have phones.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I'm sure they're not all just iPhones,
right,
with full,
access to
full
everything.
access, but that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And so we're just holding on for dear life, going, no, you have a landline.
Yeah.
You don't need that, because you're either at school or you're with me.
Yeah.
All the time. So you don't have any reason to need to call me.
For sure.
And then you have a landline so you can talk to your friends.
Well, and I think so there's a book called The Anxious Generation. Highly recommend reading it. It's really great. And it just talks about how we have literally trained ourselves to be anxious all the time, and things we're doing to make our kids anxious, right? And so, back when we were in 5th grade, we didn't need a phone because our parents were like, you're at school where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. And they were less anxious about it. But now it's like, well, I need a phone for my kid, because what if I need to call them? You shouldn't need to call them when they're at school. And yes, I know that we've got other things going on now in the world, unfortunately, that like there are things that happen at school that are scary and things like that. And so there are workarounds. There's like the Gab watch and things like that. But like, if we are on edge all the time, our kids are going to be on edge all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like no one is ever going to be able to just be still.
So speaking of that, I know that, the lockdown drills really freak a lot of people out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't freak me out because I view them similar to fire drills. I have never once been afraid of dying in a fire, because I know exactly how to stop, drop, and roll, leave the building in an orderly fashion. It's just totally normal to me.
It's just a drill.
And because they started doing fire drills, because people were dying in schoolhouses, fires.
Right.
And so they started doing fire drills. And so now nobody dies in schoolhouse fires anymore.
Right.
And so because they do lockdown drills, like hopefully these things stop happening, because we have a plan. I think having a plan shuts down a lot of fear.
For sure.
And so that's something that we talk to our kids about a lot. Like, here's why. I'm not going to go into super graphic details yet. But
Totally.
Like, they also know why they can't go on Roblox.
Right.
Because there's predators. I don't go into super detail about what those people want to do, but
Totally. Age appropriately explaining.
yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
So do you think that there will be a time where people will hopefully start to be less anxious because they've kind of normalized these plans? No.
I mean, I would like to hope so, but I feel like we are just in constant panic mode all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that is partially like, you could justify the fire drill, right? Because all you see when you learned about fire drills happening, right, was there are fires. Mm-hmm. People used to die. Now we have a plan. We get out of the building, right?
Yeah.
But now we're on our phone and we're scrolling. So we're seeing shooting after shooting after shooting.
Yeah.
And so we're not turning our brain out. We're just in fear mode all the time. I don't want to send my kid to school. They're in this building, or they're in this pod outside of the building, so they're more at risk. Or we are constantly living in fear.
So more information is not always better.
No. And I mean, be aware, right?
Yeah.
Don't be like dumb to what's happening in the world, right? But if you are constantly just looking at the bad and looking at the bad, like, you're just going to panic all the time.
And anxiety just breeds anxiety. But with the accessibility, it's almost impossible.
For sure.
Do you find that a lot of your clients follow suit in terms of they follow protocol for screens? Is it difficult all the time adapting the kids? And then how do they face when their friends have the access to their screens? Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you that a lot of my clients follow it. I feel like it ebbs and flows, right? Because it's also hard if things are going well. Parents are like, oh yeah, you're fine. You can have it for 10 minutes, right? And so then it starts to slip again. It's something that we have to be vigilant as parents all the time. And so I have noticed amazing changes in kids whose parents have been consistent with it, but it's all over the board on whether or not it's a lot of my clients or not. But I've only seen positive from doing that. And so it is something that I heavily will push or recommend over and over again. And I think the whole anxiety and connection thing and stuff like that, like you see reels all the time on Instagram that are like, all kids need are connection. I just want my kid to love me. I just need my kid to do this or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, if I pull this screen and now they hate me, I'm not this perfect family that I just saw on Instagram.
Oh gosh, yeah. But your kid doesn't want, I mean, yeah, they do want the iPad, but they want to hang out with you. Especially,
sure.
I mean, maybe not 13, but really.
There's an age.
Yeah.
Right. And like prior to junior high, for the most part, your kid would rather connect with you, right? There's internal like validation that they need and external validation that they need, right? And so like internally, as far as like internal in the home, like the pre-junior high, it's like they just want you. They just want to connect with you, right? And then starting junior high-ish, there's like, okay, my friends matter more than you. And I think now as parents, we're getting offended by that. And it's like, it's normal. Like we want them, but hopefully at that point, we want them to fly and try things and do things with their friends, right? But at that point, if you've had this connection, strong connection with your kid up until that point, they're still going to go in the right direction, right? They're going to make good choices if you've built that connection with them. They're going to come home and talk to you. They might want to spend more time with their friends, but they'll come back, right? They're not going to just leave you forever if you've built that connection with them.
Well, and then you can kind of be their safety net.
Absolutely. I told my mom everything, way more than I should have ever told her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if I didn't, I feel like my parents didn't tell me direct things as far as like, I never got a sex talk. I never got certain things like that, right? But I also knew how to ask the question without being like, I'd make a joke and then she'd kind of give me an answer. But it was enough that I knew that I had enough connection there that I could ask her in a roundabout way. But again, you don't know what you don't know as a parent, right? And so it's like, my mom did the best she could and she did great. But it's also like, how do we flourish connection with our kids, right? And if you have multiple kids, right? Like, you know, you have two, I have two. Like, it's a lot easier if you have one kid who's easy, quote unquote, right? And then it's like, oh, just stop. I have to do this with your brother, or stop. I have to do this with your sister, or whatever. And it's like being mindful as a parent. You have to, unfortunately, you have to always be on, but it's the life we chose.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and do you think that more people in our generation are choosing like intentional parenting versus knee-jerk parenting, which is like, the way I define that is like, I'm parenting how I was parented versus thinking it through. My parents did this and I liked it, or I didn't like that. And I see this, I like that strategy, and really being intentional about the way you're parenting your kids.
I don't know. I feel like it's almost 50-50. Like you've got the people who are like, I liked what my parents did. I'm just going to change a couple things. But then you've got the other people who are like, I just want to be like Instagram and like what I see, right, on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so now I'm overthinking everything I'm doing, which then you're breeding anxiety because you're never feeling like you're enough as a parent.
Are those the people that are packing the really elaborate lunches? And
yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, some of the, I definitely like, I'm like, I should put a note in there. I'm like, oh, I didn't. Oh, well. Like, so yeah, I think it depends. I mean, and it depends on the season, right? Like if you have an infant and then you have 3 other kids or 2 other kids and you're not making elaborate lunches for your second grader because you're up all night with your infant, like don't feel bad, right? But you can still have intentional connection, and you don't have to have connection for hours a day, right? 10 minutes. Give your kid 10 minutes of your time, right? And if that means like it's bedtime, you sit and talk to them or you sit and play a game. Like there are times with my daughter where she's like, I just want to play cards with you. I just want to do this with you. And I'm like, hey, I promise you, when we put your brother to bed tonight, like I will go in your room, and which I always go in with her, but we will take the game in your room and we will play it alone so we can have time to connect, you know? And so I think that we're all exhausted at the end of the day, right? But if I think what a lot of people are missing is if you don't do that 10 minutes, you're more exhausted tomorrow because then they're acting out, they're doing other things that are worse, right? Versus if you just give them that connection piece, you're actually going to make tomorrow easier for yourself.
Yeah, you told me that years ago. Just do 5 minutes. And I was like, it is 8 o'clock and I'm going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And you said, so set an alarm.
Yeah.
And that's, with the preteens and the way their brains are changing, I do think that bedtime is the time that they want to talk.
Totally.
The preteens and the teens. And
Right.
so we still do that.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm sure you don't want to.
Oh, yeah. But if she's willing to talk to me right now,
Right.
I'm going to
You gotta
listen
take it.
because I want to keep that
For sure.
open.
Absolutely. And some kids open up a lot car rides, right? Or go for a walk. If they're moving or laying down before bed is a really good time. Or if you can get them to go on a walk with you is a really good time.
Oh, yeah. If they're grumpy, I'll force them to come on a walk with me. Take the dog on a walk with me.
Yeah.
And usually they're walking like half a block behind me or in front of me or whatever. And but by the end of the walk, and I just leave them alone. If you want to be mad, be mad. Be mad the whole walk. I don't care.
Right.
I dare you. Still be pissed at me at the end of the walk.
Right.
But
More than likely they're not by the time you get back.
Yeah, because you're the one that told me that bilateral motion
Yeah.
really helps
Absolutely.
kind of reset everything.
Yeah.
So that's a good time to talk about your workshops, your clinics, workshops. What are we calling them these days?
Workshop, basically. It's
Workshop.
You mean like when I have got like a few parents that come in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I usually do like between 6 and 10. 8's kind of the sweet spot, but we're all pick an age group and it's like, okay, we've got girls that are between 8 and 9 and all the parents will come in. They'll send questions ahead of time. I'll answer their questions in clinic. And then we will kind of go through just like rapid fire questions, ideas, things they can work on at home, stuff like that. And so if they don't have, you should always make time for counseling if you need it. But if you don't have time for counseling, because there's only a couple things that you're like, we're doing okay, we just need a couple tune-up things, like it's a good place for parents to go to be like, okay, how do I troubleshoot this, right? And you are typically a product of your surroundings, right? And so if you hang out with 4 other parents who are they're allowing their kids to be on screens all the time, or you parent completely differently, you're going to get advice that's kind of wonky, that doesn't make sense with your values and things like that. And so it's a good place to get a outsider's perspective on like, this is what I've seen that can help your kid grow or change or things like that.
Well, and because I've been to several and we all have the same questions.
Absolutely.
That's the best part because it's like, oh, thank God. Like one of them I was at, and one of the moms there is the opposite of me. She's stunning. She's beautiful. She's super duper nice. And it was like, there's no way she has problems with her kid.
Yeah.
Oh, no, she has the same problems with her kid that I do.
For sure.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And so it's a good community builder too.
Absolutely. I mean, parenting can feel so lonely, right?
Especially now.
Yeah, absolutely. And because, we're not connecting, we're doom scrolling. And so at the end of the day, like when's the last time you called your best friend and vented about it, or are you just sending them reels and it doesn't really happen, right? You're not actually getting it out or solving the problem. And time and a place, like it's totally fine to do that sometimes, but just got to pay attention to kind of awareness of how often. But yeah, parenting is really lonely. You go to bed at night. I mean, even if you have a really amazing spouse, right? It's still very different how you're going to view things that your spouse views, right? Or like if they've been at work all day and you're home, or you've both been at work all day but you do bedtime, or whatever the dynamic is, right? And so laying there and being like, wow, I really screwed up today, or wow, I need to change this, but I'm so damn tired, I don't know how to change it. And so those are really good, like you said, where you can see other people that are going through the same thing and you're like, okay, like I didn't totally blow this parenting thing, or like I'm not the only one who's dealing with this.
There's power in community for kids, but also for adults.
Absolutely.
And although I can't imagine as parents, because I'm not one, I would imagine that that's where you almost need those people more.
Yeah.
Because with the kids that are the same age, you said something earlier that I have to, it's just resonating. You said parents either, I had a great childhood, like I want to do it just like my parents did, or I want to be the perfect Instagram family. Do you find that the parents who had the great childhood, they had amazing parents, do you find that they're a little more stuck in adapting to this changing world that's so rapid fire? Because if I just want we just want the 90s back. Like we just want
Totally.
our life.
Absolutely.
But you have to modify and kind of, you're still instilling all the same things, but
Right.
I would think at a heightened,
Yes.
you have to be, or else you're not going to, your kid's not going to have that same
Right.
childhood because the accessibility is so great.
Right. The implementation of it is different. Yeah. And so I think a lot of parents who come to me and say, I had a good childhood. I don't know what I'm doing wrong or different. I'm trying to do the same thing my parents did. And it's like, okay, you've got the values you want. You've got it all. You've got a plan. Let's just pivot and try these things differently. And they're totally willing to do that. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, this all makes sense. Right. Because again, the world is changing. It is so different than how we grew up.
So you have to keep up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would imagine that's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even from when I started, counseling to now, like, I'm not going to give the same advice. And it's not because necessarily my advice 10 years ago is wrong. It's just the world has changed so much that we have to grow and change. Right. And even with, if I give you advice on a teenager, or if I give you some education on how to parent a teenager, I am not going to parent my teen that way because I've got 10 years before I've got a 15-year-old, right? The world will be different then. And so I hope to continue to grow and continue to change myself so that I can parent her the best I can. But yeah, I mean, it's trying to keep up. It's real. It's hard.
So what are your favorite resources for kind of helping parents stay aware without panic?
I know I've just kind of not bashed Instagram, but I do think there's benefit in some of the Instagram pages, right? Like, it's just take everything with a grain of salt, right? So if you see someone who's parenting that you are friends with, that you are parenting similarly, like community is a big resource that is very underused right now, right? There are some people who offer like parenting courses. I do plan to offer one in the next year or so, but really it's less about, I almost want to say it's less about find all these resources and more about not being afraid to look and actually ask. Because I think we are so worried what other people will think of us, whether that's I'm worried my kid's going to hate me, or I'm worried that my friend is going to think I'm doing this parenting thing wrong. Because like you said, when you went to my clinic and you had no idea this other person was going through the same thing, like if I would have said, go ask her what she thought about this, you would have been like, absolutely not.
Oh yeah, there's no way.
Right?
Yeah.
But then hearing that she's going through the same thing, like there's power in that community, right? Yeah. We all just need to stop judging each other and just continue to do the best we can. And again, you don't know what you don't know. I feel like I've said that a lot, but it's true. And so if you see somebody who's their kids are on screens all the time, and then they have behaviors or they have things like that, and it's like, I really try hard not to judge them if they don't know, but you can't make them ask you for help, right? But at the same time, like, if they come to me, not even as what I do for a living, right? But even as a friend, they're like, oh, my kid's just doing this and blah, blah, blah. Like, I try to steer them in that direction of these are some things you could do, or like get off the screens or whatnot. So
that's a really good prompt for my brain, because we know a lot of the same people. We've been friends for a long time. And my daughter and another girl her age were at dance together, and they both came, to me and the other mom, and were like, oh my gosh, this other kid is on Roblox, because they know. Mm-hmm. And so how do you go to another mom and be like, yo, you got to get your kid off of that without sounding judgy?
Right. Well, and I think what's your relationship with that mom, right? So like, if you're like dance acquaintances, like you don't really have a say, right? But if you're like, hey, if you're close, or at least see each other often enough, or however you want to phrase it, but if you can always say, hey, my kid came up to me and just mentioned that your child was on Roblox. I just wanted to make sure you knew about it. Right. And if they're like, oh yeah, it's fine, we have rules or whatever, like you can just kind of leave it there. Right. And if they're like, oh, I had no idea, that, that's a different story, but you can't parent other kids. And so you can have rules in your own house. If we have kids that come over there and they have a phone, they stay downstairs, not the kid, but like The phone stays downstairs. You guys can go upstairs and play. Like, you don't need to take your phone upstairs. If you need to call your mom, come down and call your mom. Right? There's no reason for you to have electronics upstairs. We have no electronics upstairs in our house at all. There's just no point.
Yeah.
So
That would be one of the hardest things I would imagine being a parent, is that you can't control other people and the way that they're parenting their kids. You mentioned it earlier. I do want to get into sleepovers, because even though I don't have kids, I had some wild experiences as a child going to sleepovers that I just remember being so skeeved out and so uncomfortable that they're still in my mind today.
totally.
As a 40-plus-year-old woman.
Right.
So talk about how that has all changed, or it's more, I guess, being discussed also.
Yeah.
Because it was never really before.
Absolutely. And there's some families who just made the decision of absolutely not, we're not doing sleepovers, end of story, right? And then there's others who are like, oh, I don't care, they can go do whatever they want. And it's just like, oh, okay, that's a little scary. We got to find a middle ground. And my husband and I go back and forth on this all the time, because he's very pro sleepover, because he had so much fun as a kid doing sleepovers.
Well, boys' sleepovers were different than girls' sleepovers.
True. True. But now I feel like it's hard, because I struggle personally. I feel like there's a few friends of mine who have kids the same age as my kids, where I'm like, we could probably do a sleepover, right? But that leaves it really gray for the kid. And it's like, so if I say yes to this, so we've not done one at this point yet. It's also not really been asked about. But if I say yes to this, are they going to understand that I'm saying no to this other friend at school that I don't really know? And so, we kind of go back and forth right now at this point on that. But it's just sleepovers can be amazing, and they can be so much fun, but they can also be scary in both directions. And so you're sending your kid to someone else's house. Do they have an older sibling? Do they even a younger sibling, right? Depending on what they've been exposed to and things like that, right? And then also how well do you know the parents, right? Do they have grandparents that live there? You're throwing them into a whole nother world of things that you can't control. And again, we don't want to live in fear, the whole anxious thing, right? And so awareness, right? Okay, fine. So then you say, we can have sleepovers, but only at our house. But then you've got people who are, okay, but I don't want a kid to come to my house because I don't want to be blamed for anything.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
I just thought, because my husband said we can have sleepovers, but only at our house. And I was like, well, who's going to be like, well, I'll send my kid to your house, but you won't send my, that's,
right.
That sounds weird.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that angle of it. Good gravy.
Right. And so, sorry to make you be anxious about it. And so late overs are always a good option.
I love a late over.
Right. Pick your kid up at 10, 11, 12, right? Depending on the age of the kid. I think those are always good, because realistically, what good happens after midnight? Not a whole lot. But I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say it depends on the kid, but it kind of does. And I kind of feel like it will change as my kids get older. Right. And I do have this, I try not to see kids at work in a work capacity that are the exact same age as my kids, because it gets really gray on what I bring home emotionally, but also the rules I implement or the suggestions I make at work. Right. And so I typically try to separate them a little bit or work on just the parenting aspect of it. But yeah, so kind of just, I hate to say it, but it really depends, because there's no hard yes or no, but there's good and bad and everything. Pick your poison.
Depends on the kids, depends on the parents.
Absolutely.
I guess, too. But
absolutely.
How do you know that? We're in a day and age now where when you start hearing all these things come out on the news and you think, oh my gosh, they seem so normal. Everyone seems so normal.
And so our kids don't have tablets or anything, but when we watch YouTube in the living room, I'm always in there, right? And it's not like they don't put it on, I put it on, and then, but every once in a while there's it's a kid show, Blippi, right? And then all of a sudden there's a commercial and it's terrifying, right? And I'm like, why? Why did that commercial just come on in the middle of this Blippi thing? And so even if you really trust the other parents, even if you really trust the other kid and they're not bad kids, quote unquote, right? Or they're not doing things to search and be too inquisitive, right? Something could come on as a commercial And it's like, this is where the connection piece comes in. Because where's your relationship with your kid? Because I would rather my kid come home and talk to me and say, I saw this scary thing. We weren't searching for it. And I want to believe my kid. Right. Versus now they're having nightmares. They've hidden it from me because they're like, I don't want mom to be mad. And so do you have trust with your kid? Right. And kids are going, as they grow, they're going to do stupid things. They're going to try, and we want them to try and fail. Right. Because if they don't ever fail at home, they're not going to be successful adults because they won't know how to fail. Like, failure is not a bad thing, but we just have to set them up for how do they recover from that?
Failing forward.
Well, and I do feel like a lot of predators lean on that. Your mom will be so mad if she knows
absolutely.
that I showed this to you.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's a huge
for sure
piece of it.
Yeah. So it's all scary. The world's scary, and I've got, just to pivot a little bit, but I've got people who are like, with everything going on, and I don't want to go political, but like with everything going on politically, like parents are so sucked in and they're like watching all these reels and all these things. And so then I think it just makes everybody panic in either direction. It doesn't matter what you believe, like in either direction, we're panicking all the time. And so it's just like, I've told a couple clients, like, it's not realistic for me to tell you to delete Instagram, because are you going to do it? Probably not.
Right.
But if I tell you, hey, set a timer on your Instagram for 15 minutes, at least if you snooze your timer or whatever, I don't know how to call it, but you know what I mean? It pops up and it's an awareness thing. Okay, I've done this to myself, right? I'm going to keep going down this rabbit hole, or okay, I'm going to stop, right? Versus when you just start doom scrolling and you have no timer set and you're like, oh, I've now been on Instagram for 4 hours today. Well, no wonder I feel like crap and I'm terrified of the world.
And there is good things on Instagram.
Absolutely.
And so you can cultivate an algorithm that isn't the most depressing pile of slop.
Yes. However, it's the whole, do you make a good thing a bad thing, right? So if you've...
I mean, still not for 3 hours, but like...
Totally. But it's like, if you've cultivated like, oh, these are like parenting tools I can do, or these are like the happy families, or all the things. And it's like, oh, these lift me up. But then at the end of the day, after you've been on it for 3 hours, are you now comparing yourself to that happy family? Right. So you can still have too much good.
Sure.
That makes it bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not like the perfect parent. Like I said, I go home and make mistakes every day, and, but we just have to be willing to try. Because are we cultivating this next generation of kids who can't connect, who can't hang out with people, who can't, one thing, this is something that drives me and my husband nuts. We have gone out to dinner. The last 3 times we've gone out to dinner, 2 of the 3 times, our kids' food has come out first. Mm-hmm. And it is because they assume that the kids will have the tablets as soon as they're done eating, and that we will just sit and eat, and they will be busy on their tablets.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. And it drives us nuts. Like, talk to your kid, take a set of cards to the dinner, like out to dinner with you. It is a perfect opportunity for you to build connection with your kids. If you want to go and have a dinner without your kids, find a babysitter.
Yeah.
Figure out a plan, right? If you have nobody that you can have come to your house and babysit, there's other options on things to do as far as like parents' night out or things like that, where you can have that, or just wait till they're older. You chose to have kids, but like, it really, we have a hard time with kids who are on tablets all the time at dinner. It's just like, why are we? It's a very expensive meal for you to sit there on your tablet.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and talk about dates with your kids.
Oh, yeah. So that is one thing that I kind of preach to everybody I work with. Is like, it is so important to have one-on-one connection with your kids. And it gets harder the more kids you have, just because it's hard to find individual time. But if you have 2 kids, you take one, your spouse takes the other, and then you switch the next month or every 2 weeks or however often you can make it happen, right? Just so that they know, like, I get this time with mom and dad no matter what. And if I'm in trouble or if I've done something quote unquote bad or whatever, I still get time with mom and dad. Right. And that's one thing I told you, like, take your kids out, even if you're frustrated with them, take them out. Like, don't take that time away, because the last thing that we want to teach them is like, oh, if I fail in any aspect, mom won't take me out and hang out with me. Right. And that 5-10 minutes a day at night is so important, but also just mom and I get to go do something fun once a month. It's on the calendar and I see it is so huge. Kids look forward to that so much. Like my husband, and if you can, like, you know, you can do it together. Me and my husband took my daughter to the Lion King, right? And so that was really fun. And then my son went with the grandparents. But it is so important that one-on-one. And also, like, it's for girls, it's so important for them to go out with their dad and realize this is how they should be treated. And it's okay for them to ask questions and do hard things and things like that. But yeah, I mean, we had kids, spend time with them.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah. I love, you know, like the daddy daughter dances and stuff like that, to give the dad an opportunity to show this girl what she needs to be expecting.
Yeah.
And then I have a good friend who has 2 sons. And so she'll take them out. And her oldest especially is like 11, 12, and he'll hold the door for his mom. And you know, she gives him a chance to be chivalrous with her. And it's really cool. And then otherwise you can get boy time or you can get girl time. And it's just,
absolutely. And it's amazing what your kids will tell you if you just give them time.
Well, and that's another mom told me a long time ago, you don't ask them right when they get in the car after school, how's your day?
Right.
Because 90% of the time, both of mine go, I don't know.
Yeah. Or good or bad. But it's just when I tell you, like, you know, how are you?
They
you
have
say
to,
good.
Yeah.
Like, you might not be good.
Right.
But you're just going to say it because that's what we've been trained to do. And so with anybody, you know, you don't just say, oh, how are you? It's like, you don't actually want to know how that person is typically. I mean, even if you have a kind heart, right? You're like running out the door. You're like, it's just like saying hi. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to have the time outside of that.
Well, and just because right after school is overstimulating.
Absolutely.
And pick up and all of that. And
pick up is chaos. I don't care where you go to school.
Yeah. So having a one-on-one date gives them a time to process and chat and
and ask, like, is this okay? And the one thing that I've talked to a lot of families about is having a back and forth journal.
Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously when you're 5, it doesn't work as well. But when you're
they're hilarious when they're 5. When can we go get ice cream?
But like as they get older, like I tell parents, like, start this back and forth journal. You can make it as fancy or as lame as you want. Go to the dollar store or get one that has your names on it. I don't care. But then have your kids, you know, tell your kid, write me whenever you want. It can be a question about something you heard at school. It can be something you want to do with me. It can be something you're angry at your brother or your sister or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then I'll write you back within 24 hours. Right. And so then it's like, because they're going to hear things at school. They're going to hear about sex. They're going to hear about drugs. Right. And it's like, sometimes it's really awkward to go home and be like, hey, mom, somebody said blowjob at school today. It's like, what's a blowjob? And it's like, then it puts you on the spot. And obviously, even if you're on the spot, I'd rather have my kid ask me than not ask me.
Oh, me too.
But if your kid won't come ask you, they might write it. And so it gives you an opportunity, and you can write back and say, you know, however you want to respond to it. But then at the end of your, whatever you've written, you can say, you know, do you want me to talk to you about this in person or do you want me to just write it out? And so like having that as kind of a backup way to talk to each other is really good.
Well, and they don't get in trouble for things that are in the journal.
Correct. And they don't get in trouble. So if they're just saying all the time, like, oh, I did this thing wrong. Sure. We'll talk about how to like troubleshoot that. But for the most part, like, I did this thing at school today and I don't want to be in trouble, but the goal is communication, talking, right? Connection. And so if they're telling you about it, let it ride, right? Like, how do we change the behavior, but also connect at the same time and not shame them? Because you're not perfect. We all screw up every day. So we can't expect our kids to go to school and be perfect.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that I feel like a lot of times our kids look so old now, right? They're dressing differently than we did. They're putting makeup on, doing skincare at 6, whatever. But like a lot of times, and my kids specifically, my kids are huge. They're tall kids. And so it's like, you should know better. And it's like, you're 3. You should not know better, right? But a lot of times our brain is like, oh, they look so old. And it's like, wait, reel it back in.
Or
like,
a kid with a big vocabulary.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
or they're just really smart or whatever. And so it's just like making sure that you're really thinking about, should you know this? Because if you shouldn't know this, have I taught you this? And how do we, you know, move forward without shaming you?
Yeah. What do you think about chores?
love chores. Paying for them too, I think is good. But I also, chores versus responsibilities, right? I think it's important to pay your kids for chores, but they can't get paid for chores unless their responsibilities are done first, right? So if you've not brushed your teeth and you've not made your bed and you've not like picked up your own room because that's your space, things like that, then no, you don't get paid. But if you want to do all the things that you're responsible for, and then you want to clean the baseboards, I'll give you $1. So if you finish your responsibilities and then you want to make some money, absolutely, let's do that. But I'm not just going to pay you to take care of yourself and your basic needs. And like, you are part of the family. There are going to be times where we just help each other out and we're not getting paid for it. But sure, there's extra things that I don't want to clean the baseboards. If you want to do it, I'll give you $1. Right?
So when do you think is too, like, when's the age appropriate time to start?
What's the child labor law on? Just trying to get at that.
I mean, my 5-year-old does chores. Not often, and I don't make her do them, right? But like, she wanted this like silly Elsa braid from Old Navy. And I was like, I am not buying that at all. Like, you can buy that with your money. And so she's like, okay, can I earn it? And I said, absolutely. And so it took her like a week or two and she did a couple things. And so she had the money and we took her out and she went and bought it, right? But she had all of her other stuff done first. And so I would start responsibilities, self-care, things like that. That is so important early, 3, 2, 3. I mean, you brush your teeth as early, right? And then as soon as they understand the concept of like buying things, right? My 3-year-old doesn't understand, oh, this costs money.
Sure.
Right. But my 5-year-old does. And I'll tell her, like, if you are making these choices, then I have to work more to make more money, right? Which I don't mind doing. But if you are not going to take care of your toys and you're going to ruin them, new ones are not just going to appear, right? Unless it's your birthday or Christmas, it's just not going to happen but you can earn it. You can figure it out. And I think it helps them take ownership and taking care of it too. And so I guarantee if I would have bought that stupid Elsa braid, it would have been all over my house and not taken care of, right? And now it's like it comes out of her hair and she goes and puts it away and she thinks about it and she's like, oh, this took most of my money. And so, yeah, I mean, at 5, we took, for Christmas, she got a wallet and a purse. And so now she's like, okay, I've got this figured out.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So, yeah, chores are good. And research has shown that chores like grows confidence. Like, having responsibility around the house, like, builds your confidence, right? And if you start them young enough, kids aren't going to fight you on them. I mean, yeah, sure, there's days where she's like, oh God, I don't want to feed the dog again.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, I don't want to feed you again, but here we are.
The dog will eat his food.
Right. Pretty much. You don't have to argue with the dog about eating your dinner. And so talk to your kid, right? Communicate.
Well, and I've had to say, you guys, you want me to play a game with you.
Right.
But if I'm the one doing all
of
the
the
things,
chores,
then I'm going to be too tired and I'm not going to have time.
or just no time.
So if you want to do this, you have to help. You're part of the team.
Right. Yeah. And I say, like, all the time, we're a team. We're a team. That's a great tagline to use at home. Like, we are a team, right? When we leave places, it's like team Cox, let's go, which is funny in itself. But like, yeah, I mean, we are all a team. We all work together, right? Daddy does chores. I do chores. We all do chores. We all help out. So, yeah, it's important.
Any other pearls of wisdom for the over anxious parents?
Oh, I mean, just if you can't do anything, if you're too afraid to pull the screen, if you're too afraid to do, where do I start? What do I do? Just start with connection. Give your kid 5 or 10 minutes alone at the end of the day. And if you have 4 kids, put it on a calendar and rotate through, right? And like do 2 a night or something so they always know. And a visual calendar, right? Visual things are so important for kids. This is my day I get mom. This is my day I get dad. It is just so important. Connect with your kid because we are failing at connection.
Okay, so how do people get in touch with you?
So my company is Creating Family Harmony, creatingfamilyharmony.net. You can find us on the website. You can look at us through Psychology Today if you want to search for me or the people that work for me specifically. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me. I'd love to hear if anybody wants to do like a clinic, even if they have just, hey, I have a group of friends and we all have some questions. Like I'd love to schedule a clinic. I'd be happy to do that. One-on-one, I do in-home intensives too. And so I will go into the home and be there for like 4 hours and kind of just observe and then give you a plan, right? And figure out, maybe you don't need counseling or maybe you don't have time to do a weekly appointment, but I can come in and say, let's try to change these things or try to pivot on this. And, again, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so having an outsider is really good to kind of reel that in and change some things. So, yeah.
Good deal. Okay. Well, we like to end the show by saying, have a good day to everyone except, do you have a group of people?
I think right now, probably just my doctor that told me I had to go gluten and dairy free this week.
Oh.
Yeah, that was rude. But here we are.
Have a good day to everyone except that doctor.
Thank you so much for coming on
absolutely.
today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.